On Thursday, I put out a video where I acknowledged a bunch of truly amazing comments I've received over the course of this year. It was really a gift to my community as a way to thank them for all of their amazing support. But this video? This one is just for me. You can watch it too. But today we're tackling some of my favorite bad comments from 2023. Now, as a note, there are not an equal number of comments in this video because I don't get as many bad comments as I do good comments, and trying to represent them equally would imply that they are equal, and they're not. Negative comments are not exactly an aberration, but they're not the overwhelming experience I receive, and I'm very grateful for that. But some of these are just so bad, I've been holding on to them all year, and I cannot wait to share them with you. As a note, I'm not always going to share the video these folks posted on. Sometimes it's useful context, but other times it doesn't matter, and also I didn't make a note of it when I screenshotted these comments. Half these folks got muted anyway, so I can't now search for these comments and find out what video they were on. But here's the thing. Whether or not they got muted, whether or not I tell you which video they commented on, don't go seek these people out to debate them any further. That's not a good use of your time. What we're doing today is just meant to be fun, and if some of these folks show up in this video and keep acting a fool, then yeah, fair enough. But if anybody uses this as a justification to go and seek out these original comments and engage with them further in debate or even to harass them, then that is not only not in the spirit of what we're doing, but it doesn't reflect well on our community. It would feel like I'm sending you after these folks, and I do not want that, so please don't do that. Now, some negative comments are not that fun to read aloud. For example, here are 6 comments from somebody named Powder Keg. 5 of these comments are meant to debunk the issues I had with the Twilight Domain cleric subclass and how all my critiques of it were wrong, despite the fact that I literally then spent an equal amount of time in the same video discussing how none of these issues are actually a big deal because the community makes them out to be a big issue, but they don't matter to me that much. It's very funny that all 5 of these comments were all left within the same 3 minutes of this video, and yet when I then went on to say the Twilight Domain cleric is actually not that bad and I don't ban it, Powder Keg never followed up. How curious. And their original comment was complaining about the fact that I said companies like Wizards of the Coast trying to seek infinite growth is bad. Because how is a company supposed to stay in business if they don't show growth in revenue? You seem to insinuate that a company is idiotic for wanting to grow revenue. And no, that was actually a point about how the entire system is bad. I literally said we live under a broken system in the video before I said the thing you're responding to. Capitalism is bad. Speaking of discussing systems that are bad, here's a comment from Brian Floyd. Bro, colonialism? Shut up. Oh. Okay, I guess we'll just never ever discuss that thing that happened where a bunch of people abused a bunch of other people across like the entire world all at once, and then when everybody told them to stop, they just tried to pretend they hadn't done it or that it was actually good that they had brutalized, enslaved, and or murdered entire nations full of black or brown people. Apparently, something like that is not relevant. Good feedback, thank you, Brian. Jumping back to my video about not banning subclasses, Cortopi said this. This is my least favorite video on YouTube, I think. Quite an accomplishment. But one of my videos that got people the most worked up was actually the video about why I don't like the Forgotten Realms as the default campaign setting for 5e, and I think that it was a bad call to make it the default campaign setting. Here's one of my favorite negative comments from that one. This is from somebody called Archer's Friend. You are a Forgotten Realm. I like the Forgotten Realms. I have no interest in finding out why you don't like it. Just the laziest attempt at no, you are. I love it. Somebody named Dean Nathios also had some thoughts. You guys that want to get people to go to the games that you like are unbelievable. Leave our game and Forgotten Realms alone. The novels are great, and that's why we want to play in it. I have read tons of fantasy novels, and Forgotten Realms are some of the best fantasy novels ever. Waterdeep is the best city in all of fantasy. You will never get us to quit it. You admit you don't know that much about it, so why are you saying don't play it? As for other D&D worlds, you have many. Greyhawk is one, and like I said, many other worlds. Play your game and leave us alone. The OGL thing is nothing. Just look at Legal Eagle's explanation of it. It's nothing. You're using this to sell the games you like because people want D&D and not the ones you like. A lot of people will go to other games, big deal. They don't play a very good game anyway. They just talk, lore, talk, and giggle, waste time, and play a bad game. Try 1E if you don't like 5e. 1E started it all. In case you're curious or don't remember since it's been several months since this video came out, no, I didn't say people should quit the Forgotten Realms. My point was that the modern version of the Realms is not my thing, but more than that, the setting is a poor fit for the default setting, and especially, it's just really poorly conveyed to new players and GMs. I'm pretty sure I didn't even mention the OGL once in that video, and I've never told people to stop playing 5e. Weird, this comment is a reply to my video, and yet actually doesn't in any way accurately convey anything I said in the video. I wonder if that'll be a recurring theme in this discussion. On one of my videos where I discussed safety tools, I've done that a few times, Space is Lonely replied with this. Speaking of consent, it seems like everyone here in the comments agrees with Mike. I guess that ban hammer swings regularly. Yes, it does. I ban jackasses all the time to make my community less hostile towards marginalized people. I've actually discussed that several times. I make no secret of it. On the subject of safety tools, Homebrew Roleplayer RPG once wrote this. It is a fantasy game, and if a player can't handle a concept of a fantasy game, then they shouldn't be playing it. If someone can't dribble a ball in basketball, do you ban dribbling and playing basketball? That player either adjusts and learns or doesn't play. Consent form? What a joke. Presentism is when you take today's standards and applying it to the past. If it's a problem now, it can't appear in the historical past. Safe spaces in fantasy TTRPG are a joke. So, is it a fantasy game or the historical past? We actually talked about this a little bit in Thursday's video, but yeah, comments like this one are why I gotta make that video someday about how fantasy and history are not the same thing. But the idea that fantasy has to be authentic to history is just deeply embedded in so many players' minds. Now, as for the thrust of that comment, the idea that you apparently need to have tough skin to play make-believe with your friends, I get comments like that all the time, anytime I reference safety tools. Here's a similar comment from Christensen. What a joke. These players are too frail to play TTRPGs. Please don't feed these narcissistic control freaks. This is a slippery slope. You start by removing one thing, and then another is brought up, and another, and another. Look at how much time and effort you are wasting on this. I don't know, Chris. If you think caring about your friends and being respectful of their feelings is a waste of time, I think we might not agree about why we play these games. Shifting topics, here's a comment I get all the time on my Tiberius video. On any of my Tiberius videos, actually. This particular example comes from Kawika Cortez. Didn't actually watch, just curious why anyone would talk about this. It happened a long time ago. So, why do people even care? The video is called Why We Talk About Tiberius, and Kawika can't even imagine that it might contain an answer to that question. Astonishing. Speaking of videos that got a ton of negative replies, here are some from the Hadozi video. First, let's start with one from Pluck. The thing I want to say this is, when I got the Spelljammer box set and saw the Hadozi, I thought, cool, this is a great backstory for a new race. And there is all this potential for a real major event in my game. You know what I didn't think? Black people. At no point did the Hadozi ever cross my mind as being black people. Yet I'm the racist? I don't immediately associate monkey people with blacks and I'm the racist? Seems to me any intelligent person would be able to figure out who the racist is. Pluck seems to think that if you didn't make the connection between Hadozi and black people, I think you're a racist. And like, no? Well, I mean, maybe you are, but that certainly wasn't my point. That's not at all what I said in that video. Here's one from The Old Man. Just stop throwing real-world politics into a fantasy game. We have words like real and fantasy for a reason, and anyone can make a thing out of nothing by applying a few logical fallacies and biases. If you keep catering to monster hunting, whether or not they are there, you'll become a monster to be hunted. Ah, yes, you're right. Fantasy means there's no sense in looking into this further. Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia and Game of Thrones aren't about anything, and any similarities we find to the real world should just be written off as the audience applying their own logical fallacies and biases. Themes are for 8th grade book reports. Lord of the Rings isn't about environmentalism versus industrialization. That's just what the hippie tree huggers thought about the scenes where the trees destroy the factories. Chronicles of Narnia is not about Christianity. It's just about a lion, which does happen to be a pretty common way to represent Jesus, but that's a coincidence. As is the fact that this lion dies to save others from the consequences of their misdeeds and then comes back to life. Another total coincidence. Game of Thrones is not about any real-world stuff. War of the Roses, what even is that? Nah, those real-world politics have no place in my fantasy. But let's hear Arton's thoughts on the subject. Maybe they're a little bit more nuanced. Remember, this is a comment on a video about one paragraph of Hadozi lore, and again, the Hadozi are the flying ape people with the problematic background. They're from the Space Dragons book. I am pretty angry with everyone putting real-world issues into a fantasy role-playing game. Let us face it, racism, sexism, and classism existed back in the medieval era. If you were a member of a minority race, you were considered being a lower-class citizen of the realm. Women were counted as being second-class citizens back in the medieval era. This existed back then. I am also disgusted with all this PC bullcrap these ages. I am not a racist, nor am I against homosexuals. I just do not want all of it being rubbed in my face on a daily basis. Example. Why change the race or gender of a well-known character in a remake of a show? Why does at least one member of the main cast have to be a homosexual? An example would be Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, or Superman being changed to a black male. If you're still upset that they made Starbuck a woman in a TV show that premiered almost 20 years ago, I don't think your comment is actually about my video. On another politics video, Big Cow Productions chimed in with their 2 cents. Yeah, it is great that you are so open with your politics. It is very simple for those not indoctrinated into the Blueanon cult of the media cathedral to identify your regressive and fascist dogma. Yes, thank you for letting sane people curate things more easily. I'd never heard the term Blueanon before, but that term, plus the idea that progressives are obsessed with any type of cathedral, or that progressives are regressive and anti-fascist or fascists, this is just chock-a-block full of I know you are, but what am I accusations, and it's very, very funny. Speaking of which, this is GoonTube Assos. This commenter actually got a cameo in my most recent politics video, where they were shown as an example of the folks who unsubscribed when I talked about politics in the past. But man, despite unsubscribing, GoonTube still saw this one because they kept replying to different people, and basically, I don't know, I mean, it seems like GoonTube's main thrust was that I'm the only D&D political YouTuber, and so therefore nobody would be coming to my channel for anything besides D&D, so it's bad that I talk about politics. Here's my favorite comment of theirs. It's actually a reply to someone else's comment, but you don't need that context. It speaks for itself. Nope, it's real. People really come for content about D&D only. If I wanted politics, I'd watch that channel. It's like Mike wanting to watch porn, but there's a 2-minute discussion on sin in there. Understand? This channel, political. Sports, political. Comedy show, politics. News, politics. Radio, politics. Multiple D&D channels, no politics except this channel. The fact that GoonTube assumes politics and D&D are so opposite you can compare them to pornography and lectures on sin is hilarious enough. It's even funnier considering that for a while, people thought D&D was a sin, so lectures on sin were actually intended to be a way to combat D&D. They were considered to be opposites. But it's especially ironic considering that I'm not only a D&D YouTuber who talks about politics, but I'm also literally a Christian who makes adult content. I don't know, just doesn't seem like that impossible a dichotomy to me. What do I know? And last, but certainly not least, we get maybe my favorite comment I've ever received on this channel. From Massive Carbon Footprint, a comment that simply reads, "Leftist slime." Amazing. Perfection. No notes. Leftist slime, perfect description of me and my channel. Someone with the username Massive Carbon Footprint who has a picture of the White Tree of Gondor from the works of Tolkien the Tree Hugger. Irony is dead. The fact that I'm a leftist for linking Curse of Strahd's success to Trump's election and saying that sexual assault is bad and that's why fighting Strahd is so cathartic, truly beyond the point of parody. But the best part is that when I shared this comment in a community post because it was too good not to, a bunch of folks pointed out that this phrase reminded them of Thought Slime, which is a leftist YouTube channel that I'd actually never heard of. So I checked out some of her videos, and they're fantastic. Truly, Mildred's channel is 100% my shit. And while you can probably already guess that I dabble in the waters of political YouTube more than a little bit, Thought Slime's videos go further than I already had, and I found myself being exposed to more explicitly socialist rhetoric than I usually get. There are more than 150 Thought Slime videos, and I literally watched all of them in about 2 weeks. I was hooked. Mildred also has a segment every video where she points her audience towards other leftist videos, which is not only a segment that I might completely rip off from my own channel so I can highlight smaller D&D YouTubers, but also it means that I'm being exposed to more and more leftist content. And while a lot of the arguments that I made in my recent political videos were things that I'd believed for years, a couple of them were at least in part informed by some of the videos on Thought Slime's channel. So this comment literally made me more progressive and more political and more leftist, I guess. So yeah, great comment. Genuinely, thank you for this. I know this is not the outcome you wanted, but I'm genuinely very glad you left this comment. Thank you so much for watching. Come back tomorrow for a video where I share a huge channel update. Actually, that video has a bunch of updates in it, so I really, really hope you watch it. If you like this video or the one before it, please like and subscribe. Maybe I'll do this again next year. Ring the bell to know when new videos come out. Support me on Patreon to help me pay my bills, and join my Discord to hang out with people who do not leave nasty comments like this, but that do make the kind of comments that completely change how I think about stuff. They do it in a nice way. Sign up for my newsletter and follow me on Twitch to get more of me when I have the time to do those things. Check out my video here about all the nice comments that I've received this year. Not even all of them, just a bunch of them. If you haven't watched that one already, those are really, really sweet comments and they mean a lot to me. Until next year, play fair and have fun.